Hey there, mamas! You are listening to Release Your Inner Power podcast, where we talk about having both me time and being the best mom, sharing stories, encouragement, and tips for taking the steps to release that inner power and that mom guilt. I'm your host, Shauna B. Here we go. One quick thing before we get started. I will be doing a drawing for a fun gift each month. Here are 3 ways to enter. You can email me to share your juicy takeaways, topic ideas you want to hear, or share a story. Share this podcast on social media and tag me with what episode you listened to and what you learned or loved about it. And if you leave a review, you will get 2 entries into the drawing. I will announce the winner the last week of each month. Okay, let's get started. I have something coming in January and February that I want to share with you first. It is a monthly membership group of like-minded women that has connection, builds community, works on accomplishing something with people in their corner to encourage and celebrate, to take that next step, a place for support to get to your goals faster and happier, to be able to start taking the steps to where you want to be faster than before. Some examples of this group can be like maybe eating different or getting a workout routine, a new routine in general, working on more me time, a project that needs finishing, friggin' planning dinner, working on that negative voice and changing it to a positive one. It's about helping. It's about support. It's about connection and accountability, where we work together on motivating each other, encouraging each other, support along the way to open up these possibilities of accomplishing the next step to what you want in your life. For more information, check out the group in the show notes. You don't want to miss out. If you want to be on the list, get on that list so I can contact you in January. Today, we're chatting with Karin Freeland. She is a wife, a mama of 2 boys, and a dog named Kobe. She is an author and a certified life reinvention coach that focuses on helping professional women transform their lives, overcome fears, and achieve their dreams. Today, she's going to talk to us about her book that was launched last year called Grab Your Life by the Dreams. I can't wait to hear about this. And she's going to chat with us about unshakable confidence. I'm excited to hear what she has to say. Meet Karin. Welcome back to Release Your Inner Power podcast. I have a special guest here today. Her name is Karin. She's going to be chatting with us about confidence and her new book that was just released in September. How are you doing, Karin?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
I'm excited. So tell everybody who Karin is and how you got here and all of the juicy things.
Okay, well, that's always a fun way to start the show. So I call myself a recovered corporate workaholic. I spent, 15 years in corporate doing all the things, trying to climb the ladder, getting that next title bump, and trying to see how many numbers I could get on my paycheck. Problem was that around 39, I woke up and realized I'm having a midlife crisis. I'm not happy. The things that society said were going to make me happy are not working, but I didn't know what to do with that, right? It's just like, okay, I'm stuck. I'm frustrated. I guess this is adulting. I'll just hang on. I mean, this is life, I guess. And that thought about what am I made for? Why was I put here? They just kept coming back and I couldn't let them go. And through some self-discovery and really getting honest with myself, I realized I don't want to leave this earth with this being my life. I don't know when I'm going to die. I don't know how much time I have left. And a lot of people hear that and go, oh, you were 39 at the time. You got plenty of time to live. It's like, we don't know that. We don't know when the cancer diagnosis is coming. We don't know when the breast cancer is going to hit. Like, there's just so many unknowns. And for me, it was like, okay, I have got to make a shift in my life. What do I want? What would make me feel fulfilled? And, being a mom is great. I love it. I love my boys. I love being married. I love my husband. But that in and of itself was not enough to fulfill me. I needed something greater, a real sense of purpose. And it's a long story, but I ended up finding it in writing my first book, which was a memoir, and then in starting a life coaching business and being able to help other women find the keys to success that I found, which was really self-empowerment and confidence to go do what you want to do and what makes you happy. And so that's what I get to do now every single day. And I love it.
I love that. I love that. I'm excited to dive into this. So I know that we had chatted before and we had talked about confidence and that you were going to share with us more of that. Can you share more of that?
Of course. So in my book, Grab Life by the Dreams, The Essential Guide to Getting Unstuck and Living Your Purpose, I have an entire chapter dedicated to creating what I call unshakable confidence. Because I think a lot of us have that surface level confidence in certain areas of our lives, right? Like we're like, yeah, I'm going to wear those red shoes and I don't care what anybody thinks, right? And that's a piece of confidence, but it's like the bigger, deep-seated confidence where you're like, I don't care if people think I'm crazy. This is what's important to me. And I'm going to go out and live my life the way that I know I was created to live it. And so I go through 6 of my tips. And so I'll just give you, a little like teaser on each one of them. We can dig into some if it sounds like something that's more interesting. But the first one is really shedding that self-doubt. And so we have to get honest with ourselves about what are the doubts that we have about ourselves. I mean, if we don't examine them and look them in the face, they're going to continue to have control over us. Mm-hmm. I remember early starting my business. I mean, one of the doubts I had was, can I even run a business? Do I know how to run a business? I have worked in large multinational Fortune 500 organizations my entire career. There was a marketing department. There was an operations team. There was a president and a CEO. There was a million people. And now if I run a business, I'm all the things. I don't have a tech department when I have a technical challenge. I mean, it's all me. And that thought scared me. But I started to get curious and unpack it and go, well, I don't know if I can do it. I've never tried. Why am I automatically disqualifying myself without giving it a shot? And so I had to go through the list of self-doubts. And of course, they were long, right? About all the things I want to do in my life. Could I really move? Could I really pick up my entire family and go to another city? Yes, we did it. But I had a lot of self-doubts about that too. Could I make new friends? Could I find a place in a new community? And it wasn't until I examined those thoughts that sometimes I was like, well, of course I could make new friends. I made new friends here in Jersey. Why wouldn't I be able to do that in another city? And we have to call it out sometimes to even see like, well, that's a ridiculous thought. I had a coaching client this week. It's so timely. And I had her create a list of her fears. And I said, go through and put everything you're scared of. And she literally got done with the list and she wrote, is this a joke? Because she was calling herself out and going, this is ridiculous that I am worried about what people are going to think if I leave my corporate job. It's like, who cares what they think? So yeah, it really starts with shedding that self-doubt.
Yeah, I love that because that is super important. And there's some power in writing it down to like, it's kind of like, it's like your mirror. Writing it down on that paper and having it all on there is like your mirror, like, hey, this is what your fears are. Because if you keep them in your mind and they keep mulling around in there, they can kind of like change and really keep you stuck. And once you, like you said, call them out, get them on that paper to show that mirror, then there's going to be a lot of them where you're like, I'm just going to cross that out because that's just nonsense right there. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. We're just going to let that one go, So it's, I love that. I love that one. That one's great.
Oh, and you get to free up so much mental load and capacity for the things that really are maybe more valid fears, like what if I sink my life savings? All right. Well, that is a potential when you're starting a business, but maybe not really. Let's examine that a little closer because it might be that I could set a boundary. I refuse to put more than $10,000 into my business. Well, okay, can I sink my life savings if I only put 10,000? Let's assume I have more than 10,000, right? In my savings. Yeah. Well, no, you can't. You put in a boundary. So there's so many ways then that we can get creative and go, well, how do I mitigate these fears?
Mhm.
And that's a big piece of it. Facing your fears, getting honest about what they really are. And then guess what? Here, this is like not rocket science, but it's one of the biggest pieces of advice and concepts that I think really changed things for me is that do it anyway. Do
Yeah.
it scared.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
everyone else is scared.
Yeah, it's so crazy too how it's like you're kind of at the fork of the road, right? Where you're like, "Okay,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna keep walking even though I'm totally scared and I'm not really sure I even know what I'm doing here." Or you can just be like, "Nope, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna do this." And then you're kind of like still stuck on that like hamster wheel or whatever and just like
Yeah.
choosing to do it afraid. When you get to the other side, a lot of times that fear is so much bigger than you made it this huge monster and then you get to
Yes.
the other side and you're like, "Oh, I can see why I was scared, but it's not that. It was fine. It's not that bad at all. It wasn't that bad." I mean, that
Totally.
happens all the time. All the
Yep.
time.
And I don't know about you, but every time I do give in to fear and I let fear hold me back from doing something, I regret it. And I beat the crap out of myself and go, damn it, if I'd only done that, if I'd only believed in myself, why didn't I go for it? What could have happened? And
Mhm.
for a lot of us, this starts very early in life. I remember 6th grade, my dad came to me and he said, Karin, mind you, I'm a dancer, a competitive dancer. I'm on stage all the time. And they know how much I love to act and ham it up. And they said they need somebody to do the kids' news on Saturday mornings. They're looking for talent. I think you'd be great. Do you want to go audition? And at first, I got really excited. Like, this is it. This is my big break. And then I thought, what will the kids at school think of me? What if I have to cover something on like a sewage waste plant and then they make up some terrible name for me, like Poophead Karen or something? Like, like all these imaginary demons and, dragons come out. And I'm like, nope, nope. And I didn't do it. I chickened out and I passed that up. And it's so funny because now I do have a monthly news segment here in South Carolina on Fox Carolina, where I give tips on monthly mindset uh, guidance. And I'm like, wow, I'm redeemed myself. And the
Yeah.
universe was like, not going to let this go. But at the same time, my gosh, what might my life have looked like if I had done it? We'll
Right.
never know. And there's no point in harping on it because I can't change the past. But it just reminds me now that when fear does come up, it's like, I don't want to have that regret again. I'm going to
Mhm.
do it anyway.
Yeah, I like that. I like that to question it for sure because that is yes, I 100% have been there also where you give in and then you're like, "Man, I missed out on this, this, and this just because I didn't do it because I was scared." Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
And I think another one of my tips that kind of goes hand in hand with this that I talk about in the book is owning your current situation. Like, stop feeling like, well, I can't do this until I have XYZ qualification, or, they're going to find out about this in my past. And so I better not do this. I have to hide a piece of who I am. And I think the sooner that women realize people want to work with you or will hire you, not in spite of that, but because of that,
Mhm.
you actually become a market of one. You're like the life coach who has written a book about her vagina. Like, that's
Right.
me, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay. Or you're the person who gets hired at this nonprofit because of your fight and because of, this other litigation that you brought about one time. I mean, there's so many examples of this where you become the sought out gem, but we can't figure that out if you're hiding everything about you and putting yourself down for the qualifications or skills that you believe you don't possess.
Right. And I think there's something to be said also to like, you know, usually when there is a fear there, sometimes that's when your biggest growth is going to happen. And so it's like
Yes.
it's like, okay, it's here. And I personally have had something like that where I'm just like, nope, this right here because of what I'm feeling and because I'm questioning the fear. It's like, nope, time to lean in. Let's do this. Let's do
Yeah.
it. Let's do it messy and scared because this is where I'm going to grow the most. And the payoff is like so much better. It's so
Oh,
much better. And then you're
totally.
like so proud of yourself for doing it. And then you can celebrate that moment, right? Of like, I can do this. If you can do it once, you can do it again. You can do it
Oh,
again
yeah.
and again.
And it's so empowering because
Mhm.
once you have that experience, you start to retrain your brain on how it looks at fear. And it's
Mhm.
like, oh, well, we got really scared last time, but then we fought through it. We did the thing and it wasn't so bad. So next time you're presented with something that gets your stress response going and you start to feel a little bit of fear, you're going to be like, oh no, I got this. I did this before. It wasn't so bad. I don't need to get myself all worked up about it.
And it's interesting too, with depending on what it is, depending on the scenario and situation, it can be like a fear of something that could be super small about even driving to the grocery store versus this fear
Right.
of, just even a couple months ago, there was this lady, I was on a hike and we had to go down this, some people would say it's super sketchy, but we had to go down this little, like we had to go through a tunnel and go down this ladder, but it was kind of on a cliffside because we were going to the bottom
Ooh.
of a waterfall. And you had to walk down this ladder and there was ropes and things that you could hang on to and the ladder. And there was like, a bunch of structure stuff that you could hang on to, physically hang on to. So it's not like it was, you're just like sliding down the side of a canyon or anything
Right.
crazy. But like there was a lady that was in front of us. There was a group of three of us, and there was a lady in front of us with her boyfriend, and she was having a total physical response. Like she was
Yeah.
like facing the wall, and she was already halfway. Like she was already halfway down there, and she's facing the wall, and she's like totally shaking, and she's like, I can't do this, and she's already had made it halfway, but she's already talking herself out of finishing it when
Yeah.
she's so close, right? And then she allowed us to pass her, so we go down, and I heard her say to him, she's like, just give me 5 minutes, just give me 5 minutes to just basically sit in it. She
Yep.
was sitting in it and like sitting in the fear, and then really like, he's talking to her and he's like, okay, we can go back up or we can finish it. You're halfway there. Like you're halfway there.
Mm-hmm.
You were made it halfway. You could hear him talking to her. And we get to the bottom and we're kind of like just hanging out, like looking at the bottom of the waterfall. And then we could see her start to go. And when
Oh, that's
she
so
got to that
exciting.
bottom, there was like 20 people down there that we were all like, yes. And we were like
Yes.
cheering for her and like all excited about it. And then when she got to the bottom, she's like, it was almost like she shedded all of it away. Like it was just like,
Yes.
that was so not as bad as I thought it was. And she's like, holy moly, it was like my body was trying to paralyze me and it was fine. And it
Yep.
was fine. And she's like, thank you guys. And it was like instant friend group because it was like all of the like motivating and encouraging her, right, to finish this thing.
Yeah.
But that is a total example of how far we can, get wrapped up in this whole fear of what it is. And sometimes you do got to sit in it, and sometimes you do have to, question and look how far you've come
Yep.
to finish the rest of it, right? So it's kind of mind-boggling when you dive into it a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
the feeling of finishing and like shedding that off, and I did that, and look what I just did, and all of that. It kind of, like you said, it gets you like motivated and like empowered, like, okay, I can do
Yeah.
that again, and it like builds
What's
yourself up.
next?
Yeah, yeah. What can I do next? What's on the list? Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how you brought up the fact that everyone was rooting for her. Like she got down there and everyone was cheering. And I think so often we make up these stories in our head that other people don't want us to succeed, or that they're going to think bad thoughts about us, or they're not going to want to be around us. If I get to my goal weight, then my friends are going to not want to hang out with me anymore because I look different or whatever, or my partner's not going to find me as sexy if I put on a few pounds or whatever. And it's like, actually, everyone is rooting for you. Everyone loves you and wants you to do what is best for you. And if you have someone in your circle that doesn't, it might be time for a new circle. It
Mhm.
might be time to upgrade to some new friends or some new family. Like, and be
Right.
like, look, if you're not going to support me, then bye. But
Yeah.
we always like imagine these fears, like that everyone's going to be against us. And then secretly they're all like rooting for you and they're happy for you when you achieve your goal.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's so cool to see something like that too. Like something
Yeah.
like that to come out. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
know.
It's fascinating.
I love that.
Um,
I love that you said that, time for a new circle or time to let them go,
yeah.
because that is definitely key. Sometimes those people can, not purposefully, but like be holding you down from your actual,
Yeah.
next level, if you will, just because you're like, oh, okay.
And I think that it is hard when you have expectations about how others are going to support you or who's going to be excited for you. Like, I'll give you a personal example. I recently launched my book in September, and I sent a note to some of my high school friends. I was just like, hey, my book's out. And one person was like, oh, I'll get a copy. And it was crickets from all the rest. And a lot of people would have gotten really upset about that or emotional about that. And I was just like, all right, whatevs. Like, maybe it's not your jam. No big deal, right? Like, I'm not going to let that hold me back. And I think sometimes what happens is when we are out there and we're like crushing our goals and we're hitting all the milestones, it's actually shining a self-induced light onto those people. They feel like your light is so bright that it's reflecting onto them all the things that they're not doing. And so they get frustrated with themselves, but they take it out on you. And that, I'm not going to lie. I mean, my coach had to do a lot of work with me in the early stages of me having a business because I was like, they're not liking my stuff. Nobody comes to watch my live videos and my friends don't come to my book launch and all this stuff. And I was so upset and devastated that we had to do so much mindset work around it so that I could really get to a place where now I'm just like, yeah, whatevs, next. Like, let me go find the people who do want my stuff, who do need my stuff, who do love me, and who want to support in, more visible ways. You just gotta, change your perspective around it.
Yeah, that's totally true. It's totally a thing. It's like a little hurdle you have to get past when you're trying to do something new or changing for the better, not always taking your surrounding situations and making that be what tells what your story is, right? Like you need to know what is good for you and what you want. And if those people are coming with you, well, get on the train because this thing's moving, right? So it's like, you can come with me or you can stay right here, but I'm going this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
And it's not in a way of like bye, like I'm done with them. It's just like, I'm still moving forward. I'm still doing the thing, not allowing others to they don't even realize that. I bet they don't even realize that that they're doing that because they're so, like you said, they're so reflected onto themselves that they're not even realizing it. And it's, don't let that hold you back. Don't let that be the thing that stops you from moving out of the station. Just keep on going because you never know. I mean, it could be a couple years and they could come around and say all kinds of things. For example, I have somebody that's close to me in my life. And it's been a couple of years. I started my business, I did this podcast, I'm doing all this stuff. And they're like total crickets quiet. Right. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, this person is really close to me. Like, are they listening? Are they like the watcher, the ones that are like in the corner that like watch and then they pop out and you're like, oh, there you are, And then I got sent like this long text message about how like they're so proud of me, about how all this stuff was going on and they can't believe it, and like listening to your podcast is just like helped me and like all this stuff. And I'm like, there it is, and I'm like, yes, like, because ultimately that's right, what for me, that's what I want to do, is help people. Same with you want to help people, right? And so it might seem like it's something else when it's really not.
100%.
And then it comes back and like a couple years later and you're just like, that is so awesome. That was just so great to get that, because then it's like, they are supporting, but they were just, like you said, they were just like stuck in their stuff. And it's okay. It's okay for both of that, for them to be stuck in their stuff, but for you to keep going forward,
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the first things that my executive coach way back in the day when I was still in corporate taught me, was that when you don't have information, your brain hates that. Like, your brain cannot handle gaps in information. So it makes up stories. Yep. It makes up information to fill in the gap. Oh, my friend didn't call me back. She hates me. She's mad at me. Whatever. We just come up with these ridiculous stories. And it's like, nope, she's busy. She missed the call. She forgot she saw it come through, thought she got back to you, didn't. Like, everything's fine. But we make up stories. And so a lot of the work, I'm sure you do this with your clients too, is like, okay, are we dealing in facts? Are we dealing in feelings? Like, where are we right now? okay, let's get back to facts because your feelings about this situation are not going to help you get to the next level. It's going to hold you back. It's going to create friction that you don't need. So
Right.
that's, I think, also really important for people to think about what stories am I making up in my head about
Yeah.
my situation that probably aren't true.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so funny how paralyzing thoughts can be.
Oh,
Cause all the fears, tell all the stories,
yes.
do all of the things, it's like so important to know like what check in with yourself and question it. It's okay to question it. Question it
Yeah.
as many times as you want. If you get the same answer, okay. But
Right.
question it at least, because if it's not true to you, it's not going to be the same answer every time. It's going
Right.
to be different.
Oh, so many things change with the seasons of our lives. And, just seeing my kids grow up and get bigger now, they're 12 and 14. I mean, thinking about where I was when they were 3 and 5 to where I am now and just the difference, nuances, and what's important to us and isn't important. It's like, oh my gosh, I feel like a different person,
Oh
so much
yeah.
has changed. So the way I felt about one thing at a certain point in my life is completely different now. But we sometimes are so ingrained in our conditioned thinking that it's hard for us to question things because it's uncomfortable. And we're like, wait a second, I'm not fulfilled in my job anymore. What's going on? Why do I feel this way? Or, wow, money isn't the most important thing to me anymore. Like, I kind of don't care what car I drive. I kind of want to get a Ford or a Honda next time. Like,
Yeah.
all these things are like, is this me? Am I normal? What's happening to me?
Yeah. Yeah. I know, and to like relearn almost, like when I say relearn, it's like you're still like the same person, but all of these things are changing inside of you. And it's like, oh, that's how I am now. And that's just
Yeah.
noticing the things that are changing and kind of celebrating the wins of being on a different level and like doing stuff different for yourself to better your life and have more of
Yeah.
happiness, confidence, all of that stuff is just
Right.
taking the time to recognize it and celebrate it is huge, because you're going to see more. The more you celebrate and recognize, the more you're going to
Mm,
see.
I know. And women, we're so bad at that. Not all of us, obviously, but I have so many clients who are just amazing, badass women. The stuff they are accomplishing. I mean, sometimes they want to coach with me, and I'm like, dang, this girl, she's like the real deal. Okay, can I do this? I'm like,
Yeah,
whoa.
yeah.
But like, they're so powerful. And I'll sit with them on a call and they're like, I just don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. And I'm like, wait. You have a speaking engagement in Italy. You just did a TED talk. And I'm like listing off the stuff. And they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah. Like, can we please just take a breath and have a party here for you for a second? Because
Yeah.
you're killing it, but you're not stopping to see that. You're not recognizing that. Probably because we were all taught, like, oh, don't want to be cocky, you don't want to be, braggadocious or whatever. And it's like, you're not, you're just celebrating your accomplishments. You deserve that.
Yeah, that is another hurdle. Yeah, I do. I totally agree. That is another hurdle. That's you minimize it.
Mm-hmm.
Instantly minimize it. And you're like, oh yeah, it's just a talk in Italy. Excuse me, what?
I know.
No, that is a huge thing. It's like, and it's okay to be excited and happy about it. And it's okay to sing it from the rooftops because you're doing it. Like, it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
so
that's a big
interesting.
piece of confidence too. When you can feel comfortable sharing what you're doing and again, own your situation. Like, this is my situation. I did a TEDx talk, right? Like, yes, celebrate that. It becomes so powerful because if we're constantly looking at what we haven't accomplished yet, we're not going to feel motivated and we're going to just drain ourselves and really rob ourselves of the joy that we can have on the journey.
I know, self-sabotage.
I'm the queen of it.
That's a perfect noise. I love that.
Yep.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
man.
I just did a video on the other day. Well, by the time this comes out, it'll have been in like the end of November, but on Instagram, I was like, oh, want to see what self-sabotage looks like? I was like, it would be this. And it's me eating icing out of a bowl that we had left over from holiday cookies. And I literally the next day am supposed to record my audiobook. And I have silent acid reflux from my years of stress and abuse on my body and way too much alcohol and all the things. And so I have to be very careful about the foods and things that I digest. And so high fat icing is not a good thing for me to be eating. But there I am like clockwork. And I'm just like, well, we might as well call it out because life coaches are not above self-sabotage. We still do it. The key is we recognize it much faster and we're able to move out of it much quicker. And after I did the video, I was like, damn it. And I put the bowl in the sink and I was like, I'm putting water in it so I won't eat any more of this. It's going down the drain. Like, stop what you're doing. But I recognize it. I knew it. And then we're able to move through.
Yeah. Yeah. I did. I think I did see that actually.
Yeah.
I think I did see that video. Yeah. I was like, oh, I love that. I love that.
We're just being real because that's the other detriment that I see so many times is everybody wants to put on a show. Everybody wants to show how perfect they are, how great everything is going. And really on the inside, there's all this turmoil and they're stressed and they don't have it all together. And then everybody else is looking at others going, well, everybody else seems to have it together, but me, I must be broken. I'm the weird one. I'm the hot mess. And every time a client comes to me, I'm like, girl, you're not a hot mess. Like, you're like every single other client that I coach. This is normal. Just no one is getting out there and talking about it. So I do love to just kind of put myself on blast sometime and be like, this is real talk. This is how life actually is. Don't think that you're going to never have a self-sabotaging moment again because you will.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's so true. That's so true. Thank you for saying that because it's, there's so much pressure. There's so much pressure out there because of what people see, but it's like, just take a second because that's just what you're seeing right now. Because the full circle is there is self-sabotage, there's fear, there's, oh yeah, I did that. Whoops, I messed that up. Like that's all, it's all learning and changing it and recognizing it. And the more you work with it, the faster you get at recognizing it and pitching it or not, it's just, it's so interesting how critical we can be on each other just by seeing things and then putting ourselves through the ringer, which is also like, no, be your biggest cheerleader. Life is hard already. We don't need to be, weighing ourselves down here. So let's, what can we be happy about here?
Yeah. And that is literally tip number 6. What a beautiful segue is around positive self-talk and being your biggest cheerleader. Look, nobody else is going to do it for you. They really aren't, and if they are, and you get reliant on that, then you get so dependent on this extrinsic motivation and external validation that you're always seeking it. And then you can never just enjoy things unless you get that compliment or that kudos. So true confidence, unshakable confidence is allowing yourself to give yourself validation and to be your own biggest cheerleader and not your biggest inner critic. Right? Because that's what most of us are. We're our biggest critic. And so how do you make that shift?
Right. Why make it harder for yourself? Because you are actually making it 10 times harder for yourself by not being your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
So like you're just diving into the trench.
Right. Yeah. You're like, I'm just going to go all in on this and completely self-deprecate. Yeah.
And then you got to climb out of that still. Sure you want to dive in there?
Right. Yeah. Why? What a waste of time and energy too. Like who's got time for that? But I recognize it as a reality and we've all been there. And again, I'm the first one to admit that I have all kinds of negative thoughts from time to time that have to be dealt with. I have to go in and do the hard work and go, okay, why do I feel like this? Why am I saying this to myself? Why am I thinking that I can't do this? What evidence do I have that this is wrong? And how do I change that into a positive thought? So I love affirmations. I have affirmations all over the place. I mean, I know people can't see this on video, but you could see it. I have, I am worth it on a little Post-it note. It's like literally right here next to my computer. I've got them in my bathroom. My boys have them in their bathroom. I just think if we can have those positive messages in front of us all the time and take a few minutes in the morning or right before bed to just look in the mirror and say things like, I'm successful. I am blessed. I am talented and smart. And damn it, I look good. Like whatever, right? Like just own it. Say these things to yourself. And you'll be amazed. You can do that for 30 days. It'll change your life.
Yep. Yes, it will.
And it will feel so weird at first. You'll be like, I don't look that great today, right? Like your brain will try to be like, well, I don't know if I really feel financially abundant right now, but all of a sudden you just keep doing it. You keep at it. And all of a sudden your brain's like, yeah, well, I kind of am financially abundant. Like, we just got that little bonus, or I just got this client, or, you start to find ways. Your brain wants to prove you right. So your brain finds ways to point out to you, oh, look, you are blessed. Look what just happened. Or, that diagnosis came back as negative or whatever. You're like, oh, wow, this really works.
I know. It's amazing. Just try it out. You don't have anything to lose, and you have so much to gain. So just try it. Even if it's sticking a toe in, just try it out.
Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, when I was pregnant, when you're pregnant, you get the weirdest advice from people. Like, when your baby starts crying, what you want to do is put it in the car seat, turn on the dryer for 20 minutes and stick the baby on top of the dryer. And you're like, yeah, okay, thanks for sharing. I'm never going to do that. That sounds ridiculous. And all of a sudden, someday at 3 a.m., when your baby's been crying for 4 hours, you're like, I'll be in the basement, babe. I'm taking the baby with me.
Yeah.
And you're putting that sucker on the dryer and you're like, oh, snap, that worked. Okay. Like, it doesn't seem so crazy anymore at 3 a.m. It's the same thing with all these tools in my book or any self-help book. It's like, try it on for size. You don't know what's going to work or not work for you until you give it a shot. And some of it won't work because we're all wired differently, right? Some of you are going to really struggle with positive affirmations, but you know what? Writing down your thoughts, writing down your what we call lies, and then turning it into a truth and reflecting on that might work really awesome for you. And that might be your little golden ticket, but we don't know until we give it a shot. So much of this transformation and changing your life and becoming more confident is also having an open mind and just being willing to try something new, not putting pressure on yourself to be perfect or get it right on the first shot, but really give yourself some grace and the opportunity to just give it the old college try, see how it goes.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. Tell me more about your book that was just released in September.
Yes. So Grab Life by the Dreams is broken down into 3 parts. And so part 1 starts with a lot of storytelling and really looking at how you can bust the status quo. So I share a lot of my early panic attacks about death and really how I was able to pinpoint what was working in my life, what wasn't working in my life. And then at the end of each chapter throughout the whole book, I'm giving you what I call the make it happen section. So it's like, great, we just talked about these concepts. I just taught you about like extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation. Now, what does this mean for your life? How do you apply this to yourself? And so there's actually workbook style pages in there where you can answer right in the book, or you can get a journal. I am working on a companion workbook, so that will be out sometime in Q1. And then in part 2, I start to break down the real specific steps like building confidence, exploring your spirituality and seeing what role that plays in your values and the vision you have for your life going forward. Things like making over your mindset and really challenging yourself. Are you in a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? And what does it look like to be in a growth mindset? How do you get there? And then part 3 actually breaks down my signature program, which is called Edit Your Life. It is a trademarked acronym, EDIT, where you look at envisioning your goal, documenting the goal, investing in the goal, and taking action on the goal. So it's really a culmination of all the things that you've uncovered in the first 10 or so chapters. Then how do you put this in a process to create goals and an action plan to actually make them happen in your life? So it's pretty cool. It's what my coaching clients pay thousands of dollars for, and you're getting it for $20 on Barnes & Noble or Amazon or wherever books are sold. So it's a pretty sweet deal.
Where do you find it?
Yeah, absolutely. Wherever books are sold digitally. Fortunately, if for those in South Carolina, we have them in a few of.
Oh no, where are you?
Oh, the Ethernet.
You froze. Oops. Okay.
Okay, now is that better?
Yeah.
I don't know. I unplugged my Ethernet. That happens sometimes when I'm actually plugged in. And then the Wi-Fi is fine. I don't get it.
That's
It's ridiculous.
Real world. I know. It's like I'm having tech with Zoom. You're having tech with Ether. It's great. So
It's awesome.
Where do we find your book again?
Yeah. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, wherever books are sold digitally.
Awesome. Well, I love all of this. I think we had a really awesome conversation today. I'm so glad that we got to chat about confidence and dive into your book and really get to the nitty gritty. I really like the edit program that you just talked about. I love that. I love how you have something for each letter and how to do that. I'm actually curious a little bit more information about that. Where can people find you if they want to find more about you or have questions or want to chat with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my Facebook group is where I spend most of my time. It's called Successful Working Women Rocking Reinvention. So you can join the Facebook group. It's free, and there's a lot of exclusive content that you won't find on other platforms. Of course, you can always go to my website, KarinFreeland.com, and Karin is spelled Karin.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. It was so great to have you on the show.
Thank you. This was awesome. We got to do it again.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. I just want to say thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, learned something new, or got a juicy takeaway that will bring in that heck yeah back into your life. I release a new episode each week, so make sure to subscribe. If you love the show, want to share a story, comment below. If you know someone that would love or need this episode, be sure to share it with them. I'm sure they would love you for it. Tag me and find me on social media at Ignited Decisions on Instagram and Shauna with Ignited Decisions on Facebook. I would love to know what episode you listened to and how it helped you, as well as connect on social. Okay, mamas, claim your time and release your inner power.